So what I'm doing now is running the bike to get it hot. I ran the flush through it. I put some extra water in the bottle. I drained it and I sucked the water out of the bottle. Now I put pure water in and I'm running it. I'm going to run it about 15 minutes, get it hot, thermostat open. And in the flushing stuff, it said to open that radiator while it's hot. And I think that's to drain everything. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is shut it off after 15 minutes and let it just set for about a minute, and then I'm going to open that real careful, that drain on the radiator, and get all the water out. And then I'll just let it set and cool. What had happened is I ran this, first I had a coolant leak after I got all done, and it was that little hose down in the bottom there, and they just have a little clip on it, while I put a small mini breeze clamp. That fixed that. Started it, I seen something on the other side running down, had it on the side stand, and I'm like, I smelled it, it was gas. And I looked all around, I had the filter on and I'd all done. Right here, this carburetor down in the corner, the fuel was just running out. I'm like, now what? So what I did was, I took this all back off, the air filter, the base for it, and that. I took a little wee hammer and just tapped real light on that carburetor at the bottom. I thought it might be a sticking float, and I think that's what it was, because then I started it up with the clear water in it, started it up, and I've been watching it, it hasn't leaked. So I think it was just a stuck float. Now, I had shown how I had replaced 2 hoses down in there. I put hose clamps on them, they had spring clips. Then up in there, they have these little wire spring clips. I took those off because when I first seen that fuel, I thought it had to be leaking there, because that's where I was working. And I put 2 big spring clamps on, and I mean, you really gotta, you know, get like a 90-degree needle nose to get in there, squeeze them and work them up. And I got that. But then it leaked again, and I could see it was coming right off of this carburetor. So it hasn't done it. If anybody has one of these, leave me a comment about this ram hose that comes in. It looks like there should be one on the other side, which would make sense to get a lot of air back here to go up your air filter. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe they took it off, never put it back on, you know, but I mean, there's room for it to bolt, everything. And this, I have some hose from something that's just about this size, and I could always manufacture a scoop in there, take this one out even and look at it, make another one just like it, put it on the opposite, make it a mirror image of it so it can go on the other side, and put a line coming in there. That, I think that would help. And I think, yeah, let me get a flashlight. I thought I could feel air, and I can see in there the fan is working. So I know that's all right, that the fan unit and all that's working. So after I get this up temperature, I'll drain it. I'll let that thing get completely cold, because if I take that hot water out, I don't want to put, you know, even like lukewarm water in right away. I'll wait till the bike cools down. Then I'll refill it with the antifreeze. I have the 50-50 mix I'm going to put in it. So I shut it off and I opened that. I used long needle nose pliers to open that. And I'm just letting the water come out of it. And the way it looks, that must be a male bike. Because if it was a female bike, it'd be sitting down. But it's standing up and it's doing its business. A viewer asked me a question that I want to address, and here is his He left a comment with a question. He has a 2005 C50. It only has 1,400 kilometers, ran poorly. He replaced the rusty tank, replaced the pump and pressure regulator, and had the injectors cleaned and tested. After installed, he didn't have any start. Confirmed 45 psi fuel pressure, 2 injectors. Confirmed spark, no injector pulse. He pinned out the harness on the injector circuit to the ECM. No resistance. Harness is perfect. Had injectors tested again. Perfect. What am I missing? Well, there could be so many things that if you'd bring up a guy called Scotty Kilmer and watch his stuff on cars, and so many times he'll show somebody having a problem and he has the scanner he puts on and he goes by it. Now this guy's been a mechanic, he says, for 52 years. He really knows his business, because somebody will ask a question about a car and he'll answer them and tell them about that model, everything. I mean, he really knows his business. But he showed that scanner that he uses, and he said he had to teach himself to use it, because if he was working 52 years as a mechanic, he's went from the old school where they were so simple into this where you have all the sensors and you really need to have the diagnostics done on it. So I suggested doing that, because it seemed like he really was getting a handle on what I would have checked. And I just felt bad because I don't have an answer, but you really need a scanning tool. And you could leave a comment, because he will answer questions. Now, I know he'll have a video, then at the end a lot of times he'll say about the viewers ask questions. So he might read yours, he might not, he might directly answer you, but he does have a motorcycle. He's worked on bikes. So if you tell him exactly what you told me, and it's a chance he might answer you. And for the Suzuki, when I'm still having that problem. I just haven't went my whole route. But I ordered the scanner for bikes, and that's the one that I had to get the plug for the Suzuki. They didn't have it in there. They had a Suzuki plug, but the wrong one. And it come out of New Jersey, and there's a lot of stuff that I order for bikes that comes out of New Jersey, and it's a place where they're getting it from China. And so when I needed that cord, I had to wait till it came from China. So I had a good wait. I put it on the bike, and then I took it clear up through the scanner for that idle speed control, which that's the code coming up on it, right up to where it says run the bike. Well, I couldn't, because I had a tank off and I had been working on it and this, but I just plugged this tool in to see how it works. And the tool isn't cheap. It came in this box, and that's like $360 for this tool. But it has a plug, like I said, for Honda, Harley, Yamaha, Suzuki. It just didn't have the one I needed, because I think they had a newer plug and it's a different size. And that you can't, I don't think you can scan a car with. It won't recognize it. It has to be a bike and the right plug for it. So that's about all I can tell you is about that problem. Is you could try him. If not, you may have to go to the dealer, because with that scanning tool you can bring up things and it can show you how it's running, and they'll know how to set it, which needs set. You know, even if there isn't a code, they can check everything that's running and see where the problem is. Now the Honda I'm working on, I just did that where I showed taking putting the flush in. Well, I had the flush done, I put the water in, this and that. And yesterday, man, it was one thing after another. I started it, had that coolant leak. Finally put it on, put a good clamp on there. Then it was leaking. It was running off the other side, but it was on the right side, but it was on a side stand, so it's coming off the left. I followed it up. It was fuel. It's coming out of the back corner carb on the right. So when I come out today, I thought I'll try to see what I can do. I tapped it with a hammer real easy down there, a little wee hammer on that carb, started it, ran good, didn't leak. I ran it 15 minutes, got it hot, opened when I was done and the fan come on, so I know it's working. I opened shut it off, opened the radiator, let that all drain out while it's hot, because that way the thermostat's open and it's sitting there, cooling down. Once it's a little cooler, I'll put the 50-50 mix antifreeze in, and I should be done with that part, and then I can put my air filter and all that back on. Being a stick and float, it could possibly happen again. It's got me kind of worried. But do I want to rip all that off and take them carburetors out? He said he rebuilt them. He had told me. You never know. But I would believe him maybe. But, right now I'm like, well, I get it back together. I'm just going to run it around here for, not go too far from home and see how it runs. And might be all right. But it kind of worries me, about a stick and float. If it stuck once, it might stick again. It might not once I get fuel going through it and get it out on the road. And another thing on the road is, when you're riding, you're going over bumps. The bike's steady, got bumps in it going down the road and stuff, and that'll help that float. It'll keep it. And once it works free, it might be all right. Then I had a video on where I took my sister-in-law's motorcycle. Her husband, it was her and her husband's. He passed away, and now she's going to sell it. I went down, and it's a 2002 Harley. Ran bad. I put plugs in it, drained the fuel out of the tank, put fresh fuel in. Had it, finally got it running perfect. So I took it down and got it inspected for her, brought it back, and ran great. Well, it sat for a while because this is July 28th actually. Well, it was towards the beginning there when I took it down for that inspection. So it's been maybe sitting 2-3 weeks at the most. A guy come to look at it, and we left it in her garage so that he could see it was cold. Pushed it outside, started it up, wouldn't work worth a damn. It was the same way as before. It was running bad. You can't keep it running, this and that. So the guy was real nice. He said, well, if we get it fixed, call him. He'd be interested in it, And I think what I'm going to do is, I noticed the fuel cock on that, it's a 2002, is real hard to turn. I mean, I've never seen one that hard. I mean, usually, they're all a little bit of tension on them. That thing is, man, you got to grab it and turn it. And I said, I told her the first thing I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to go down tomorrow evening, or even during the day. I'm going to take that tank, that fuel petcock out of there, so I can get every bit of that fuel out and see. I'm going to first take the hose off that goes to the carb, and I'm going to drain some of that tank and see if there's anything. I want to do it right where it's setting. I don't want to move it and stir it up, because the dirt will be right down there. And I'm going to check that. I want to check there's probably a screen inside there, and I want to check that and maybe even take that apart and see if it has a gasket. Maybe the gasket swelled up. And I'm going to get some, I thought I got regular gas for that. I think I might put some premium in, and just to try it. But that was heart sickening that she's ready to sell it and finally got a buyer, and that happened. So she pulled it off of selling it, pulled her ad down, and we're going to have to go over it and then go from there. But that's the first thing I'm going to do. And Honda, now that it's running good, I'm going to put the 50-50 mix in. I want to run it up to temperature again so I can get it through all the system. Then I'm going to check the radiator to make sure, I'll probably get a little bit of air out of it. Get it up, then put some in the bottle. I have water in a bottle, I'll drain that out. I'll be putting 50-50 in there to the, level it needs. And while all that covers off of it, I can get right at it. So that's where I'm at now. I'll do that, and then I'll run it, and I'll be done with it. Then I just have all these body panels and the saddlebags that I want to clay bar and get done perfect and put back on, and I'll be set to go. So that's where I'm at. Lois is taking me out to Cracker Barrel because it's my birthday, so that's good. So I hope you have a good as day as I'm having, because it seemed like I come out and I think when I tapped on that carb, that helped it. That loosened it up. I just hope it stays loose. But today's going a lot better than yesterday. Oh man, yesterday it seemed like everything was going wrong. Just one thing after another. Some days you have that. Some days it's best, you know, you go out and you get a day like that, go back in the house and put the air conditioner on. Yesterday it was so hot and I sweated like crazy out here, but I was trying to get that fixed. But it's getting there. Then after I get that done, I want to take the Suzuki and bring it out here and have it. And I see you put that on, you don't run the bike, you just turn the key on, and I can bring that up to where it says about that idle speed control, and then it'll say run the bike. Then I can run the bike and see where it's at, and it might settle it down. You know, it might, they call it in the book to initialize that to the bike. What the world that means, I don't know. I always called it resetting it, because I think maybe it has to be reset to like 1100 RPM for the idle. Maybe that's what it is. I can see where it's at, what maybe is going on. But have a good day.